Have you ever felt like you don't fully belong in this era? You use technology every day, but you still feel drained by an always online world. You understand social media, but you're not truly comfortable with it. You're not old like the previous generation, but you're not native like the next one. And sometimes, you don't know where you stand. People say it's just because you're getting older, or that you can't keep up with trends. But here's the interesting part. This feeling isn't random. There's a shared psychology among people who grew up in the 1990s, a mindset shaped during a very unique period. And if you've ever felt out of sync with today's world, this video might be talking about you. You remember sitting in front of the TV for hours, no calls, no notifications interrupting you. You played offline games. If you lost, you just played again. You didn't need to be online to feel like you existed. But now, things are different. Just a few minutes without checking your phone, and something feels off. Messages, notifications, small things constantly pulling you away from the present. You understand how technology works. You're not bad with it, but deep down, you don't fully trust it. You can leave social media for a while, but you can't completely live without it. It's like you're standing between two worlds, not fully belonging to either. And this is where people get it wrong. They think you're just nostalgic or that you're falling behind. But the issue isn't that you're slow. It's that you were shaped in a very different way. A way the current world was never designed for. So the real question is, why do people who grew up in the 90s always feel slightly out of sync? And what from their past is still quietly shaping how they live today? There's something most people don't realize about you. You didn't just grow up in a different time. You grew up in two different worlds. Your childhood was slow. No smartphones, no social media. If you wanted to talk, you met in person. If you wanted entertainment, you created it. You got used to waiting, used to silence, used to being alone without feeling uncomfortable. But then, everything changed. The internet arrived. Social media exploded. The world sped up every year. And you didn't just witness it. You had to adapt, while your brain was still developing. That's when something unusual happened. Your brain learned two completely different systems, one slow, one fast. Psychology calls this dual programming. You weren't shaped by one environment, you were trained in two opposite ones. And that creates a very unique brain. You can focus deeply when needed, but you're also easily pulled by quick stimulation. You can enjoy silence, but you also get caught in notification loops. You're not fully dependent on technology, but you can't fully detach from it either. Sound familiar? Think about a normal day. You can sit alone, doing nothing, and feel perfectly fine. But the moment your phone buzzes, you're pulled out instantly. Not because you're weak, but because your brain learned both ways of living. One part of you craves depth, another part is wired for speed. And those two parts don't always agree. This is the bridge brain effect. You're like a bridge, one foot in the old world, one foot in the new. And the thing is, a bridge doesn't belong to either side. It just connects them. That's why you always feel slightly off, not because something's wrong with you, not because you're behind, but because you carry two operating systems at once. And today's world is built for only one. There's a quiet difference in how your brain was raised. You didn't grow up with instant dopamine. You had to wait. To watch a movie, you waited for showtime. Miss it and it's gone. To hear a song, you waited for it on the radio, or bought the whole CD. To talk to someone, you called and hoped they were home. everything had a gap in between, and that gap shaped your brain. You learned to anticipate. You learned to wait. You learned that not everything comes instantly. Psychology calls this delayed gratification. But for you, it wasn't a skill. It was the default. You didn't notice it until the world changed. Now look at today. You open your phone, a video plays instantly. You swipe, another appears in less than a second. Messages, notifications, endless stimulation. No pause. Your brain wasn't designed for this pace. And maybe you felt this. You scroll for a while, then suddenly feel tired, not physically, mentally. You jump from video to video, but nothing really sticks. You check messages constantly, but struggle to focus. Sound familiar? People think it's lack of discipline, or that they're easily distracted. But the truth is different. Your brain was built for a world with delay. A world where rewards didn't come instantly. So when you enter a system where everything is immediate, you get overloaded. Not because you're weak, but because you're running old software in a world built for new software. Part of you still wants depth, focus, full experiences, but your environment keeps pulling you towards speed. That's why you feel conflicted. You want to keep scrolling, but also want to stop. You're drawn in, but also exhausted. There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain just remembers a different rhythm. People often think your problem is this: you can't keep up, that you should adapt faster, be more online, blend into the current pace. But what they don't realize is you're not slow. You're being pulled in two directions. One part of you was taught clearly. Value doesn't come from being seen. Real connection doesn't need posting. Time can be slow and still meaningful. You lived that in your childhood. Then you entered a different world, a world where attention is currency. Speed matters more than depth. Image can matter more than reality. And that's where the conflict begins. You post something, then wonder, am I sharing or performing? You scroll social media. It's interesting, but also draining. You want privacy, but fear disappearing. Sound familiar? This isn't a behavior problem, it's a value conflict. Psychology calls it identity split conflict. Two value systems moving in different directions. And the hardest part is, you don't fully belong to either. You're not loud enough to feel natural online, but not detached enough to fully leave it. You're stuck in the middle. But here's the interesting part. That discomfort is awareness. You see what others don't. You feel the difference between real connection and quick interaction. You know when you're truly living and when you're just showing up. So maybe the problem isn't that you're off. Maybe you just see both sides, and that makes it impossible to go back to a simpler way of living. When you step back and look at everything, it all connects. You have a bridge brain. You live between two rhythms. You have a slow dopamine system, but you exist in a fast stimulation world. And you carry two value systems that don't fully align. So yes, you feel out of sync. But here's the most important part. You're not lost. You're a bridge generation. You understand the old world, slow, real, and deep. You also understand the new world, fast, connected, always changing. Not everyone has that. Most people only know one way. You see both. And that gives you something rare. You can adapt. You can switch modes. You know when to go fast and when to slow down. But at the same time, you see the problems others ignore. You see the fatigue behind constant connection. You see the emptiness behind endless speed. So that feeling of Not belonging isn't a weakness. It's awareness. A kind of awareness that won't let you live unconsciously anymore. And maybe that's what makes you different. So if you've always felt like you don't fully belong in this era, maybe that's not a problem. You're not slow. You're not outdated. You just see the world differently. You've lived a slower rhythm. You've learned to wait. You know what real connection feels like. And now, you're in a very different world. Faster, louder, always demanding your presence. Maybe you won't fully blend into it, but maybe you weren't meant to. Maybe your role isn't to chase this world, but to see it clearly, to see what's missing, to see what's fading. And the real question is, who will you choose to be between these two worlds? Or will you learn to stand firmly in the middle? If you enjoy videos like this, subscribe